Welcome to the first annual Stubby Awards here on the Love Boat Project. I am your host, Mike Robertson, along with my awards co-host, Mike Taylor.
Ahoy.
Michael, you are dressed to the nines tonight for this black tie affair.
It took me all day to get this look together. So
Who are you wearing?
White t-shirt.
You got the smarter outfit. Luckily, it is not as hot as it was last time I wore this tuxedo. But when you pay upwards of $11 at a costume store, you're not getting a fabric that breathes.
I do remember towards the end of that episode, just to see like the sweat starting to bead. Almost, I think the same thing happened in the Christmas episode.
The Santa
Santa hat was getting kind of hot.
Yep. Yeah, and we had talked about it, and looking ahead to season 2, the way we're doing these every other week, we're basically going to be releasing in a certain time frame around the same time every year, which means I'll be doing that Christmas episode and that some sort of Christmas get up, recording that probably in August or September every year. So
Christmas in July. Yeah, I mean August.
Maybe going to get a big quiet fan for that episode. But we're not talking about season 2. We're here to talk about season 1. Not an episode, all the episodes.
That's
the Stubby Awards, named after Phil Silvers as Merrill Stubing Sr., star of episode 9, where he was nicknamed Stubby. And frankly, that's all we needed to create an award show. This will be 16 categories going over the entire season. We have a long list of nominees and great performances and terrible performances that we've seen this season. And we figured what better way to kind of recap this season than to give out some hardware here. So, Mike, any thoughts before we jump into the awards?
I'm just excited to participate. I'm really ready to dig into these awards. So many, and just the review of the nominees, because you can't just give a nominee. Yeah. It was amazing to look back and see how many people we've met, how many characters we've come across in this first season deep dive. So it was nice. It was a trip down memory lane.
I tried to put myself in the position that we were when we watched these and recorded these, and that was easier than others. It really depended on what it was and what we were talking about. There are definitely some people that I hadn't thought about in a while. There are definitely some people I wish I hadn't thought about in a while. And I think those are reflected in the nominations, but I guess we'll find out here shortly.
Yeah, curiously absent episodes 21 and 23.
Well, there's one award they might be up for.
Wow. Yeah, they might be up for one.
All right, well, let's get this baby started. We have 16 awards. I'm sure this episode will go 5 hours. So let's take a look.
17 hours of awards. Let's do it.
All right. Our first category, Best Kid. Now, kid is tough, but in the interest of expanding the field a lot, we basically defined this award for as male, female performance by anyone referenced as college student or younger. So there may have been people that were college age, but if they weren't referenced as a college student, they probably weren't on here, but that's for the judges to decide. So how we're going to do this, just so you know, dear listener, is we're going to read off our lists 5-1. And some categories are 3-1. I think there's a couple categories where there's 1-1, but and then we're just going to go back and forth, kind of see what we have. And at the end, if we both have the same number 1, well, there's your winner. And if we don't, then we're going to have a little bit of a conversation and come to a conclusion. And to make it even a little more exciting, each of your fair hosts has one challenge. And so if we're having a debate over one of the categories, you can throw your challenge and basically you get to pick that winner. No dispute. So
we don't want
each of us
heated moments.
Exactly. Each of us can absolutely guarantee one winner of our choosing at the very least. So
I like that. That makes me feel good going in.
Yeah. Put a little sporting event into it too. Yeah. Right? You got to strategize. You don't want to do this like, I don't know, if you were somebody in a fantasy football league that had waiver money that you would spend it in like week 4. You want to hang on to it, make sure you have it when you need it.
You only live once, right? Woo, YOLO.
Let's wait till I get Barry Keys all the awards. All right. So best kid. And like I said, this ended up A little harder than I thought. Obviously, it's a limited category.
Yeah, only three nominees.
How many do you have for this one? 3 or 5?
Three.
Okay. So, starting with number 3, and this was tough because there was a real break at the 3-4 line, but I'm giving it to someone we saw in our very final episode of the season, going with Eve Plum as Vanessa Summerhill in episode 24. That's my number 3.
Interesting. Wow. So my number 3, we go back to the Christmas episode. My number 3 is Tony the Orphan from episode 11.
That was my number 4. That was how close it was.
There we go.
Tony really just absolute hero.
He's
absolute
the disappointment in his eyes because Captain Stubby couldn't count to 6. Yeah,
wearing his little blazer too. Yeah,
he's so
and you know what's so funny? Tony, you know his real name? Tiger. The kid's name is Tiger. I have Tiger Williams, which doesn't feel right because that's a hockey player. But
you know what? That's better than a Christmas gift for Tony the Orphan. Tiger's got an awesome name. Cheers.
All right, my number 2 in the kid category, going with, and this was tough. 2 and 1, I'm telling you right now, was a coin flip for me. So number 2, I went with James Bond III. And that was as Teddy Dennison in episode 8.
Okay. My number 2, I went with Nancy Brown from episode 12. The
stowaway.
The stowaway, and she met that, George who lives in Tijuana down there, in Montezlon or whatever it was.
No, Randy.
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah. I thought she did a great job.
You didn't care for Randy, if I remember correctly.
No, Randy was made up. He was terrible. He had a van.
Yeah. Randy was a good guy.
I forget. She was Tiny Ribbons, right? Flat ribbons.
Well, I feel like I know where you're going with number 1 because I feel like we may have had a difference in age thoughts.
Perhaps.
My number 1, I'm sneaking in under the college rule here. Robert Hedges as Danny, the Virgin, in episode 6.
I mean, he was like a college student. I'll give you that. I can't argue with this performance.
Oh, you were anti him too. I forgot. You were jealous.
No. I wasn't anti him. I just, I was like, hey guys, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Come on, fellas. That's not funny. That kind of thing. Because this was the Jimmy episode where I was like, I guess they didn't get together, and you were like,
right.
What? Did you watch the same episode?
Yeah, that was that may have been one of the first of what turned out to be a real season-long story arc of your girldumbness.
Girldom. My number 1 is Theodore Dennison.
Yeah.
Episode 7, James Bond III. And I think you will agree, like, if this was the coaches poll for, NCAA football, he would have some first place votes, amongst, whatever they poll college coaches. He was so good in that episode.
Yeah.
But if we're counting Danny, I didn't count him because he looked older than a college student to me. Like it just didn't.
Like I said, I had Theo a close second, so I am 100% okay with giving it to him. I think, and to be fair, if we had more kids, I think the category would have lent itself more to that. We had to add the college thing because it really would have been the orphans.
Disadvantage. Yeah, you might as well call it the
orphans and the runaways.
Theodore Dennison Award.
Like we didn't have any. There were no kids brought on this boat by a parent this season, right?
Well, no, you had good Lord, what's his name? Scott Baio. Remember that whole thing?
Right. They were terrible. They were very disappointing.
They were terrible.
That was very disappointing. I would love to have nominated Christy McNichol, but she was not good.
They all had Julie's haircut. Everybody. And Posse. They should have had haircut of the season. That would be a great award. But I will say, I think that although Dennison, I'm with you. I didn't even think about the Danny role. I mean, it's okay.
This was the toughest one because of the parameters on it. So I'm happy to give it to Theo, to Teddy Dennison.
Fair enough.
And he is, congratulations, James Bond III, star of stage and screen. You are our first ever Stubby winner.
And now live via satellite,
Can you imagine if we
James
would
Bond the
just like,
Third. Every winter.
what if we had
Oh, it'd
been
be
like,
great.
let's buy a bunch of cameos and not tell these people why we're having them on.
And leave him on for the whole episode. So we have like 16 people talking at once. Like, why are we what?
Well,
Can't
I'm
hang
pretty
up.
sure a couple of our award winners can't join us tonight.
No,
So
no. Maybe it's some family members. I am fortunate that I get to present or well, I'm so excited about this award. I'm sorry. This is the most exciting award to me all night right here. And it's best old. Best old, let me give you the parameters there. Male or female performance by anyone referenced as a senior citizen. So I'm going to give you my number 5.
okay.
We're going to start with Franklin Bootherstone at number 5.
Oh wow, number 5 for the booth. Poor Will Gear, the late Will Gear.
Late Will Gear.
For my number 5, this was a very hard category. This was much harder than the kids for sure.
But was for me, it wasn't the one; it was the 4 others where I had to sort of figure out, well, what makes a good. You know what
gotcha. I mean? You're not going to like my number 5. That's right.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! Oh, no.
That's right. It's Ray Bolger.
Oh God!
As Herman McDonald in episode 7, The Jinx. He was fantastic. Put a little vodka in that orange juice for the taste. Pour one out. Ray Bolger. Ray Bolger being Ray Bolger. Always great. He was fantastic.
Number 4.
I don't expect you to have him on the list.
Nothing. Number 4. I think you're going to be a little surprised by this one. I went with Mo. Price is Ice is Nice Price from episode 23. Maury Amsterdam, played by Maury Amsterdam. Yeah. That's who I went with, Mo Price.
I was not expecting. We have very different lists. This is going to be.
He made me laugh. He was funny. I enjoyed Mo Price.
Number 4 for me.
Yeah.
Scatman Crothers as Virgil Gibson. That was in episode 16. That was, as we talked about, a weird subject matter for the Love Boat. And I don't think it would have been even airable with anyone else, but his charm just really carried the day. He was fantastic. Basically just playing Scatman Crothers with a little bit of Amin Brewster in him, but he was really good in that one.
I can't argue with it. I will say that nothing in that episode made my list because it was such an awkward episode.
I don't have much. From 16.
Yeah, no. I'm kind of afraid to talk about 16. Number 3 for me, we're going to go Cyril Wolf, episode 4.
Really?
Yeah. Overall, he was annoying, but I mean, he's like the biggest star to ever be on the show. He didn't need this. So to me, him being on there, number 1 was a big deal, and
Gotcha.
Number 2, was he a jerk? Yeah, but it's Milton Berle.
I mean, here's the thing: being a jerk, that does not impact you.
No,
for sure.
No, yeah,
it's not,
it is a performance.
Exactly. There are categories that will address your being awful, but this is
absolutely
not one.
So, yeah. This was just performance wise. I thought, maybe he wasn't the young Milton Berle, but it's still Milton Berle.
We are, by the way, we have listed 5 names and none of them have been the same so far.
This is fantastic.
I don't have any of the 3 you've mentioned on my list. So this will be great.
Okay.
Number 3.
Yes.
The man these awards are named for, Phil Silvers as Stubby himself, the captain,
yes.
The captain's captain. Only performance, but I mean, you couldn't have picked a better guy to come in. He really was the first of what turned out to be a pretty long run of meta characters that were just basically saying things that we have been saying. And then, like I said, established the awards, seemingly ended the captain's dinner.
Pretty much,
He did a lot of stuff.
In the end.
yeah. So Phil Silvers for me is number 3.
No argument from me there. Obviously, you know how I feel about old Stubby. Number 2, I guarantee this is going to surprise you. Number 2 is Grandma Warner from episode 6.
She was in my nomination or my
She was great.
honorable mentions. Yeah, she is great. Ruth
There
Gordon
were,
is so good. It hurt me to not
she's
put her
great.
on there. The scene I always remember is when she tried to throw herself off the side of the boat because Patty Duke was dating a school teacher,
That's
basically.
right.
And it was,
That's right. There she goes.
that was a storyline. Looking back, that was an episode that had no right being as good as it actually ended up being. Barry Key, we made so
Accidentally
much
great.
about Barry Keys that
Yeah.
episode that it was like, but they did a lot of work with not a lot there, especially that story.
It was just unintentionally just hilarious. I don't think they knew quite how entertaining it was. That was a funny episode.
I did find as we were doing these that I think we kind of knew that the front half was better than the back half of this season.
Oh, they should have redistributed the quality a bit.
You can kind of feel it when you're going through some of these. And it's like the ones that we thought, oh, this wasn't that great. And then looking back, it was like better than 90% of the second half of the season.
Yeah. So. I ran into that a couple times where I was like, oh, wow, I don't mind this.
No.
This is
comfortable,
nice.
Like a comfortable
Very
shoe.
Comfy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 2 for me is Will Geer as Franklin Bootherston.
Interesting.
Again, I give him a lot of, we said it at the time, I give him a lot of credit. He did a lot of work in that episode.
Yes, he did.
Which was it was a weird episode. That's the Julie Priest episode. There's just a lot happening there. He was really good. We talked about it at the time. He passed away just a couple months later.
Yeah.
And a nugget that I've been holding on to for months. Will Geer has the only acting Emmy nomination in the history of The Love Boat for guest performance. And yes.
For this episode?
This was the only one he was on. He died.
That's
and
right.
I wonder how much of it was like a posthumous, kind of thing. But that is the only, I think they ended up getting nominated for like a couple, cinematography or, staging or something. But the actual only acting award nomination they ever got was Will Geer for being Bootherston. So
R.I.P. WG.
R.I.P. But he didn't make number 1 on either of our lists. So
no. It's time for number 1. For me, my number 1.
Let me say this before we do it, just to build the drama.
Yeah.
My number 1 hasn't been mentioned yet. So maybe yours, I don't know. We could both have the same number 1. Maybe not.
Stubby himself, Meryl Stubing Sr.
All right. There we go.
I mean,
okay. Yeah. It's going to be hard for me to argue this. So my number 1,
I can't wait.
I'm happy. Pearl Bailey as Millie Washington.
It was the age thing for me. That's the thing with me.
Again, it was tight.
Know.
And the only reason I counted her was that scene where her and Stubing and the dentist are having coffee talking about the kids and everything. But I totally understand that. And much like the first award, I am totally fine with giving it to Stubby. I feel like, he was obviously a lot older than Millie Washington. Pearl, I just want, since we're going to give it to Stubby, which is good, but Pearl Bailey was great. I did want to correct something that I noticed in a couple of our episodes.
What's that?
We've credited Pearl Bailey with the first physical violence on the show, and that is still correct.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had referenced a couple weeks ago when Kevin was on that Doc got punched.
That's right, by the chauvinist.
Right. Forgot that Waldo, head of office of the beauty pageant, got hit in the face when he tried to creep on Terry from Three's Company.
That's right.
And there was a fourth one that I knew yesterday and didn't write down and cannot remember, but I believe there is a fourth one. Was a slap. So we had four violence. So I just wanted to apologize for that misinformation.
Was it Stubing? Laying it on Stacy Stubing? Was that, or was it her, Mr. Skog's dog? Was that him?
No, I don't think
go to your room.
If there had
No,
been a
I don't think
slap in
so
the
either.
first episode, that would have been something else.
It would have, yeah, in the
Yeah,
70s.
it must have been like
You can't
Doc or
do that.
somebody getting slapped. Like it must have been something like that. But it was
I don't
in that
remember who it
middle.
was, but yeah.
Yeah, it was in that range of like the late teens episodes, which were not that distinguishable. I think
No,
it's in
they all
there. But
sort of
anyway,
blend together. Yeah.
but the first one was Pearl Bailey. Great
Right on.
effort by her. But category 2 goes to our good friend Phil Silvers. A Stubby for Stubby.
Stubby for Stubby.
All right. Our third category, and this is a short one. Best
Sure.
animal.
It's one of two, right?
I gave a nomination to Herb, Julie's cat. But there's really only
you
two
said
on
any on-screen animal.
there's only two
Only
on
two.
well, if you
So
don't count
which
the
one?
puppies, which I didn't either. But basically we only got two animals that had plots this year. It was the dog of questionable gender
Questionable gender dog.
that entrapped Radar in his room for a month, and then had puppies, and of course Lucille the chimpanzee. I don't think this is even close. No. I voted for Lucille.
Of course.
Yeah.
I did too.
So,
how can you not?
Yeah, and like, we said it during the episode for what it was, which was a late 70s comedy monkey episode.
Love it.
Very reserved. They didn't go crazy with it. They didn't go overboard with it.
Like the monkey, there was very, like not a lot of raspberries.
Right.
It wasn't too much. Nobody was saying, "Hey, what are you monkeying around?" Like none of that.
That fantastic scene where Doc just goes in and takes the purse off and gives it to the mom, and just really, really good. I will be so what? Okay, over under on animals next year, comma animals in the portal. So over under, let's say 2.5 over under, since we had 2 this year, right? So I'm just saying, like, animals that are eligible to be nominated, basically in a plot, right?
Well, think about it. How many animals really at this time were famous enough to be in a portal? The only one I can think of is
70s. Benji,
Ricky, the Yorkshire Terrier, Maurice,
Rintintin 9, Mr. Ed. I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. Are there not? Is the bear, BJ and the bear? Is that bear still around, or BJ? I'm not sure which is which.
They just use. They're all this. It's I don't know.
Now that's disappointing. So you don't. Yeah, maybe we're not going to get an animal in the portal.
I think you'll get an animal. I don't know. Maybe a blind lady with a dog. Maybe I could see that. But they just did a blind lady, so I don't.
Yeah. You know what I wanted to talk about? This has nothing to do with animals, but since we're talking about stuff that we didn't get.
Sure.
Do you think it's weird? Like I said earlier, we haven't had a kid come with their parents yet. Do you think it's weird that we went a whole season and we didn't get 2 couples going on the cruise together? That seems like, for example, in our younger days, we would never have gone on cruises. But if we were ever going on a cruise, it wouldn't have been weird if us and our wives would have gone, right? Like that wouldn't have been insane.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have done it. But like we would
just like if we all went to Vegas or we went somewhere. It's like destination things usually go with people because you hang out with your spouse every day,
right? Like they
which is wonderful. It's just every day. Yeah,
This is airing like right around Mother's Day.
It's gonna be great. Oh.
I just thought that was odd. Something to think about for next season. Just it seems like again another easy one.
Well, because you always had like packs of guys, or you had packs of girls,
or one person, which is just makes less and less sense to me.
Parents and a child.
Yeah.
Right. We've had
oh right. The only parents that brought their kid was Monty Hall.
Yeah.
He brought his 28-year-old son.
So weird. I never want you to grow up, Monty Jr. Come on.
Oh, God. No more game show hosts.
No, please.
We're not getting Wink Martindale. We're definitely getting Bert. We're definitely getting Bert Convy. Bob Barker, maybe.
He's not slumming. Bob Barker's a CBS man. No, I think he's too big.
Peter Tamarkin.
He's going to be on there 4 times. Him and the guy that wasn't Tom Hanks on Bosom Buddies. He's going to be on here a lot too.
Peter Scolari?
A lot of Peter Scolari. I can just sense it.
No, there will be no Peter Scolari besmirching on this program.
It's fine. Was he Bosom or was he Buddies? I don't know.
He was also great on Newhart. So before you start,
he was great on Newhart.
Yeah,
with Julia, whatever. I love that
Julia
show.
Duffy. Yeah, we've had one Newhart already. So
yeah,
and we're definitely never getting Bob Newhart. That's like beneath him.
Oh, he wouldn't.
No,
he's the best. He's so dry and wonderful.
Like at this time, I think we've kind of gone with the thought that like we're never getting Burt Reynolds. He's too big.
Never. Yeah.
Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett probably too big.
Yeah.
And we're not really at the people in the 80s yet. So
although I wonder the whole package deal appeal. Remember before we had like husband and wife, Jacqueline Smith and her husband.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a draw for a couple like that.
That's the only chance.
You know, that's the only thing I'm thinking that might be a draw, or if they have something to promote, or I don't know.
Right. And it's like we forget, but like season 7 is like 1984 or something. Like times might be tough for some of these people. You know,
maybe then they're coming on there. You know, right. they didn't have the time for the Love Boat in 1978, but 84, they're like, oh hey.
You think we'll get Dom DeLuise?
Oh, I hope so. I'm a huge. I just listened to a.
Great. He'd be great on this.
He's great on anything. I just listened. Yeah. It's so funny you say that. I just listened to a radio interview with him from like 20 years ago the other day, and he was just always on, just fantastic. Yeah. You know that Don Rickles energy of always. Yeah. It was that same thing. It was just great. Speaking of energy, see that one? Woo!
Yeah. Smooth segue.
We're moving on to the next award. The award is for Best Musical Performance. This is a 5-nominee award. Any performer, singing, or instrumental. I love that you put instrumental in there because I know that. Hey, music's music. Woo!
Listen, you know? And I wrote all these categories descriptions before I actually did them, and I'll tell you, spoiler. I needed that clarification in this description. So.
I understand. So number 5, we're going to go with Glenda Fairbanks singing "I'll Be Seeing You" over pina coladas on a sunny afternoon on a cruise ship.
Excellent.
Episode 21.
I didn't think of her. It must have been too close. I was too close to it. That is excellent. Oh, that's so good. Hey, you remember this one? For my number 5, this is
awful. Yeah.
This is a deep cut. This is a very deep cut, and it's from an episode I know you don't like. The Pacific Princess crew as the wedding band when Horace McDonald renewed his vows, and they sang a real song, and then they sang a jazzy song.
Yeah.
In episode 7.
I completely erased that from my memory until you just said that.
You remember, that's like Julie's got her eye patch and
it was
Isaac's got his neck brace.
Everything was crazy. That episode was just off the rails.
Is still the most bonkers episode. That episode makes
I don't know what they were thinking there. I really don't. Number 4 for me, Loretta Swit with her contractually obligated singing on episode 3.
I forgot she sang in that.
Oh, everything. She's always singing. Her and Carol.
Florence
Brady.
Henderson.
Yeah, it's always like in the thing. Yeah, it's a thing.
I forgot about that. My number 4. Let's go with a little Paul Burke. There's Brian Sherwood singing "You and I" and coughing a lung out and almost dying as his daughter ran away. So.
That is my number 3. That is my number 3. Yeah, Brian Sherwood singing "You and I."
It's the only time all season we saw somebody like request something from the band, and then the fact that it's an empty hall to your point, when we watched it, the band knew this depressing song that no one is ever going to request a cruise liner band to play. Like, could you play the Battle Hymn of the Republic, please?
Absolutely. That's funny. So that's my 3. What's your 3?
Excellent. My 3 is Marie McCormick as Susie Corbett playing the piano in the Miss Pacific Princess contest. Instrument solo so good that she won the contest, only to have it ripped away by her awful boyfriend.
Piece of garbage guy. My number 2, a bit of a surprise, is Ted Wilcox. This is the fake amnesia song that matched the jingle he wrote before he faked amnesia, episode 19. It was. That's the exact song. Just there must have been a different ring. It's exactly the same. Just
the guts it took, the restraint it took for Ricky Nelson not to sing on that episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, he was just there to act, but also play guitar.
Like, instrumental. So, that's why I was glad that was in there. But yeah,
he was putting the electric down.
And he was a big star too. That is surprising they didn't like.
Yeah, you would just think, because we didn't really get a lot of legitimate male singing here.
No, no, not at all.
For me, number 2, that'd be Charo as April Lopez. That was our first kind of we had him in back-to-back weeks actually, but that was our first, like, here is a musical number. Like, here is an actual like 1 to 2 minutes of a network TV show.
It made sense.
Yeah, and it was like a real song. I remember you were very impressed by the guitar guy. Like, it was like a real song.
Yeah, yeah.
And it had a beginning, middle, and end, which was not always the case for some of these other songs we saw.
Well, spoiler alert, that's my number 1 pick. I went with April Lopez, a.k.a. Captain Steubing's personal discovery from episode 4. Yeah, absolutely, because it was like a real performance.
Yeah. I'm surprised that my number 1 did not make your list.
I might have
it was
missed the radar.
It was Diane Carroll, it was Roxy Blue, and her devastating takedown of Isaac Washington. Absolute spite solo at the end of episode 5.
We're going to talk about her in a little bit, and Isaac in that episode specifically. So I don't disagree. And she was legit. We looked it up. Remember, we talked about that, how like Diane Carroll, Emmy winner and had albums out. So, all right. So that was best musical performance.
So what do we want to?
Best villain.
Well, hold on. We didn't award this thing yet.
Oh.
Are we giving it to Charo or are we giving it to Diane Carroll?
I'm going to give it to Diane Carroll.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I had to use my card.
No. I guess that.
I'd also like to call out the other 3 musical performances I had listed as honorable mention. Was Florence Henderson when she was singing Silent Night right before what's his name was going to toss Walter Perry off the boat. Mitzi and Lenny, there was a piano in there.
I love Mitzi and Lenny. Yeah.
And Scatman Crothers singing Campdown Races.
Oh yeah, again, I can't talk about that episode. I just blocked that out.
All right, this is a great category. Best villain. Now, this is basically a male-female performance. The person was intended to be a villain.
Yeah,
we have created our own villains throughout this season. There is a bit of a category for them later.
Sure,
but this is for the actual intended villainy.
Yes,
and who was the best at this?
Yes,
and I will say this: a lengthy list, considering it's the Love Boat. I was able to get some pretty long nomination list here.
Well, they had a lot of these. This was an easy character to have on every episode. It was almost a necessity.
Yeah.
In one of the stories, you had to have one.
This was like actual villains, let alone the ones that we feel are villains that weren't like real villains.
Scripted villains.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, number 5, and this was another late entry, I'm going with Jack Carter as Ray Foster in episode 23, this schmuck was the guy who was a jerk to his wife, a jerk to his ex-prostitute.
I didn't even think about him.
And then got no comeuppance, which frankly I did wait into these rankings for a lot of the stuff, is the lack of comeuppance for villains. Very, very, very indiscriminate and a little sexist. So, but we'll get into that. So that's my number 5, Ray Foster.
Speaking of that, how some villains kind of got away. Maybe a male villain did and a female villain didn't. I give you my number 5 pick, and that's Yvonne Boulanger.
Oh, very nice.
Fake French gold digger from episode 19.
Yeah.
She got her comeuppance when Jamie Farr and everyone had, Jamie Farr's friend. She
was underrated. I don't think I appreciated it as much when we were doing it, but like she was a really good villain.
She was a good villain.
I didn't have it on my best moments list, but it's in like the mix.
Yeah.
That part where she throws the wine on Gopher from a boat is one of the best moments of the season. Like just absolutely hysterical. And like I said, she was dressed like Han Solo for half of the episode. So
she really was.
And unnecessary villain. Like there was no reason for her to be a villain. She just was.
I agree.
Like, so number 4, our good friend Frankie Avalon. Now I am counting him as a villain because
it's funny that you're counting him as a villain.
I'm counting him as a villain. I know it was on the border, but he admitted it at the end, all the things he did, like a supervillain does. But Frankie Avalon basically scammed the Princess Line into letting him bring his dumb computer on there, scammed this computer system to get Julie, almost had to fight everyone on the boat because his stupid computer didn't work, pissed off the captain, made him sad, wore those weird
matches. Everything was
those weird
wrong.
Shirts. Yeah.
That thing didn't work.
And all from a 37-year-old Frankie Avalon.
My number 4, I'm going with Vernon Crowler from Plan B, episode 15.
Nice.
The man who can look just like Captain Stubing, but cannot talk like Captain Stubing, nor wear a hat. Because he respects military. Like, I don't wear my headgear indoors. I would go with him. Intentional bad character. He was a villain.
I ended up lumping the Caper Crew in, and they just missed. I think I had him at like 6, basically. I love Harold Gould. He's one of my favorite actors from that period. I think I was just bummed out that he wasn't just a little better. That Caper thing was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that whole group was perfect villainry, right? It was just
Larry Storch.
Well, I know it was a big Storch and Ox. You were a big Ox guy. Yeah,
it was great.
# Ox was right.
That's right.
My number 3, we're going all the way back to the beginning. Bonnie Frank as Susie Stubing Skarsgård. I mean, she came in with that accent.
She came in
and was just awful. And I mean, that was straight up villain. She was using her old husband to try and crush Stubing.
She wasn't even trying to be nice. Yeah, she was just.
No. And even when the comeuppance, and she got comeuppance because she was a woman, of course. And still didn't. That episode did not necessarily resolve on a happy ending, right?
Well, no, because now she's just mad because her present husband took the side. Like it's just going to make her more powerful.
And I'll be curious whenever the daughter shows up, assuming.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know whose daughter that's going to be.
They're going to do like a.
No idea.
Arnold,
but I wonder if there'll
be
any more. I wonder if there'll be any more references to Stacy. But she was great. We really liked episode 1.
Yeah,
you know, I think we forget because then everything just got so twisted for a while. But that was a really good way to get where they wanted to get in terms of Stubing defending his crew, and then they ignored it for months. But.
Yeah, they immediately put that aside.
Yep. Number 2?
Oh, number 2 for me. Oh, I'm going to go with Mike Andrews. I'll see you sometime. Episode 18.
Cold as ice.
Cold as ice. Mike Andrews.
He was cold.
He's like, yeah, it's cool. When will we see each other? Never. Oh,
Yep.
okay, cool. Mike Andrews, intentionally
he
bad
was
villain.
He was a good villain.
Yeah,
and just didn't care. Like, did not care. And again, no comeuppance. Sorry,
no,
comeuppance.
He's off the ship. He actually just boarded another cruise ship. He's just going ship to ship. Scumbag Mike Andrews.
My number 2 and number 1 was a coin flip, and it does come down to the female got comeuppance, the male did not.
Okay.
So my number 2 is Joanne Harris as Connie Evans, the would-be cruise director who tried to take Julie's job.
Nice one.
She was excellent. She ended up she's in a couple of these for me.
She was good.
She was great. Just absolute, like, straight up to your face, and really took Julie down. But she got comeuppance at the end.
Of course, because she's a woman.
Exactly. And my number 1 did not. So that's why she's number 2. But could have been number 1 in a more fair world.
Well, now I'm wondering. You haven't said my number 1.
There's no way we don't have the same number 1.
All right, my number 1 is from episode 22.
We do not have the same number 1. Okay.
Kurt Stansel, a.k.a. the finest animal I've ever owned. I mean, it was pretty egregious.
Yeah. No.
Me.
Oh, he's a bad dude.
Yeah. Okay, I got to know. Who did you pick?
Buddy Stanfield.
Buddy Stanfield?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm just surprised.
You don't think he's a villain?
No, he is a villain. I'm just surprised you picked him as your number 1 villain.
I think he was... Well, again, Kurt got comeuppance.
Yeah.
He got thrown out and dumped and humiliated. Now, it worked out for him in the end. Buddy Stanfield, first of all, pre this episode, is cheating on his wife with Julie,
right.
Leads Julie along, makes her move to Los Angeles, makes her quit being a stewardess, all that. Goes up here to take a boat to a business meeting, tricks Julie into getting back together, fake proposes to her. All the while, he's married again.
Yeah, I can't argue with it.
Shows up, and he doesn't get any on-screen comeuppance at all. So, and if you look at the arc, he might have broke Julie for the rest of the season. Either that or the cork in the eye, but it was around the same time. So.
I really wish that I could counterpoint you on your number 1 pick, but I can't.
Yeah.
He's so much more of a villain than Kurt Stansel's just an a-hole.
Yeah. I mean, no,
he's not necessarily a villain.
Every villain named is a good villain. But to me,
but number 1 is number 1.
Yeah. So if you don't have a problem with that, I'm gonna suggest we go Buddy Stanfield on that one.
I concur. I concur. Next award is for Best Returning Guest. This is a 3-nominee award. The rules here: male, female that was a guest on multiple episodes this season.
Which we thought was weird, right?
Yes.
We were surprised that they felt the need to do that in the first season of a show, but there ended up being, I think, like 7 or 8 people that were
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Let me give you my number 3. My number 3 is Robert Urich. Episode 10, episode 21. He didn't give us a lot in episode 10, but it's Robert Urich. So
I knew
I'm obligated to vote for him.
Yeah.
But I couldn't give him higher than 3.
I want to give special mention to an honorable nominee who I would not have known if you hadn't brought it up, was Craig Littler, who played Gary Bananas Foster.
That's right, Gary.
After being in episode 2. But my actual number 3, Marie McCormick, who played a horn dog in episode 6 and played a would-be beauty pageant with an awful boyfriend in episode 16. And like you said, they really stretched her acting chops by giving her a different haircut. So
I agree. Yeah, we'll just take a couple inches off and then completely different character. My number two. Now, my number two is Michelle Lee, and let me explain.
Okay.
Because I think the easy thing to do on this list would be to go, okay, well, she's been in 3 episodes, therefore she. But I don't think that's a fair assessment of best. So I put her at number 2. She was in episode 5, episode 15, the 2-parter, and episode 23. I thought she was great. I thought she was great in everything that she did. Was she my favorite? I think she was the best. No, but I mean, it's a silver medal.
I can't disagree with that logic. Now, spoiler, I'll go out of order. I had her as number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this, I agree in that I think her episodes were diminishing each time. I think her best role was the first one, and subsequently were not as good. So I gave her number 1. Mainly for me was a lack of options for another one. But anyway, my number 2 is Diana Canova, who played the twins.
I can't argue with that either.
And then came back and played Ellen again, which was funny. But I thought she was really good. And
she was great.
The twins were different enough, to fool Doc. But
it's a great episode. It's a great.
Anyway,
Doc didn't care if he was being fooled. It doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, crazy like a fox. So who's your number 1?
My number 1 has not been mentioned yet.
Yeah,
I'm going with Pat Morita as Vincent the Painter, episode 12, and one of the best things about episode 25 was Mr. Yamashiro. Big fan of Pat Morita.
I thought he was such a waste in 24. That was the only thing that got me. It was like
24.
He was still good.
Not 25. Yeah,
he was still good, but yeah, we're.
I didn't think about the twins.
I'm fine with whatever.
I say this. I say you had Michelle Lee first.
I had her first.
I had her second. Split the difference. I can go with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a bad one, right? It's just
no. It's a big award.
That's what we have to do here. It's called compromise. So
I'm sure their Wikipedia pages are being updated as we speak.
Oh, I cannot wait until next season when I get to refer to these people as, multiple Stubby winner, maybe Stubby nominee.
Well, how does it work? What's that word if you win like an Oscar, a Grammy? Yeah, could this be the EGOT? You just going to throw an S on the back of it?
The EGOT.
Emmy, the STEGOT.
Yeah, Stubby,
Emmy,
Grammy, Oscar,
Grammy.
Tony.
Yeah, STEGOT.
STEGOT. I don't know that anybody. If Whoopi Goldberg ends up on here, she's got one. Elton John.
Diane Carroll wins. She's got an Oscar. She's got a Tony.
Oh, there you go. Angela Lansbury, I think.
She could be the STEGOT. We'll see.
We should call. Congratulations.
Who is this? How'd you get mine?
All right. Right. This is a fun one.
This is great.
Best Horn Dog. 3 nominees. I mean, you know what this is. This is basically the male or female that was just ready to go from Jump Street on a series that was inconsistent, I would say. Sometimes it was very horned up. Sometimes it wasn't, but it was very easy to find candidates for this one. So my number 3, it might surprise you. Congressman John Wickham. Number 3 from episode 16. This guy cheated on his wife with a stripper, got busted in Congress for it, went on a boat to get away from it, and hit on Vicki Lawrence about 3 seconds in. So Wickham was ready.
Oh yeah, I also have Dick Van Patten in the 3 spot for me on this for this award. I agree 100%. He wasn't even trying. It just on to the next conquest for old DVP. So
yeah, Scuttlebutt knew.
Scuttlebutt
knew.
They knew.
I mean, number 2, One of my favorite performances of the whole season.
I know what this is going to be. Yeah.
Mickey O'Day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Excellent. I went with Mickey O'Day. I reference it a lot, but he had the best wave shot of the entire season when he's standing out there waving to somebody, checks out a girl next to him, makes a move, gets shot down, does one of these to whoever he was waving to, shrugs at the camera, almost died for his horniness. And then, after coming back from his cocaine-fueled heart attack in the hallway, on his deathbed, asks Doc to go tell that redhead that he won't be taking the next dance. Like, what a true
character,
player,
man. Yeah, he's
absolutely.
I think he's still going on cruises to this day.
Oh, absolutely,
just keeping him going.
If of all the characters we had this season, Mickey O'Day is a top 3. I wish he would come back. I know he's not, but I wish he would come back.
Every season we should get honored with an O'Day appearance.
One day, just one O'Day.
My number 2 is a co-nominee, Ellen and Helen Edwards, the twins.
Very nice.
Again, there was a lot of quantity. It's 2, but it was 1. We thought it was 1. I mean, they were just completely out of control by the end of that episode. Everything was just
and one of them came onto the boat like that.
Right, and the other one converted once Doc laid the smooch on her.
Because what was the line? It was, I came to get a man, you came to get a tan or something like that.
Yeah.
They both got a man.
They both got a man. Neither one of them left with a tan.
Yeah.
So I went the Diana Canova twins. Wait. Can I say something first before we do this?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a very high the chances are good that we're going to have the same answer here. I don't see how we couldn't have the same answer here. I just want to say that before you say what it is.
We have been more different than I expected, though, so I don't know.
Okay, all right. I just want to say that I feel like this is a home run on my. Okay, all right.
My number 1 is Carol White as Penny Jacobs.
Yes,
excellent.
That is my number 1. That is my number 1. I was like, I put it down. I'm like, who else could it be? I mean,
there was just nobody else. I mean, she went
on
a singles cruise and was the horniest person on the boat.
She was crazy. Yeah, she was. Oh, yeah, it wasn't even close. Yeah,
I mean, just epic performance by Penny Jacobs there.
Shout out Carol White. Jeez,
rolls out. Did you seriously when we thought of the Stubbies? I did not expect Carol White to pick one up, but there it is.
No.
When we get to the end of this thing, and you're looking at the Love Boat Project Wikipedia, it'll be like Carol White, Stubby winner, season 1.
Who knew?
Congrats!
Congratulations!
And I feel like as we go, this category will get very, very popular, and then maybe very unpopular as we careen into the mid 80s. So
that is true. That's funny.
Did you think about Doc?
What's that?
Did you think about Doc at all?
No, I didn't. For some reason, I just kind of put the cast members in a different category.
Yeah. The thing is, I had Doc for the twins thing, so it's the same thing you had.
Right. It's the same.
And then I had Bob Seagram as Mike Andrews. So we're
close.
Yeah. The only other people I want to shout out for that one are 2/3 of the romance roulette couple. Joanna Kearns and the other one were definitely in the mix. So
I agree. This next award's a little bit different. This is the best/worst episode of the season. If I remember correctly, the reigning king of the mountain, was it episode 5?
Yep. Episode 5, Roxy Blue, the Jewel Thief, murder. So yeah. And we've talked about it. The couple episodes that came closest were non-traditional episodes. The 2-parter was really good.
22 was good.
to 22, which was one story basically, was really good. But like, as far as a straight up episode, 3 storylines, 3 directors, 3 writers, nothing. I don't think anything
Nothing
came close
touched it.
this
I
season.
agree.
So do
No.
we? So for next season, right, we start fresh. Like we just start. Episode 1 will be the best one of the season, and we go from there. Since we're doing the awards, I don't think we knew we were going to have the awards when we started the King of the Mountain. So
maybe you do it like this, right? So at the end of season 1, this is the King of the Mountain, right?
Right.
So that is the reigning King of the Mountain. We forget about that for a minute.
Yep.
We go to season 2, King of the Mountain. End of the season. What's the best episode? What's the worst out of the 2?
Yep.
You have the 2 King of the Mountains right there.
Yeah, I like that.
But the flip side is the worst episode.
Yeah.
And that's...
I think you were right when you said it earlier. It's either 21 or 23, and I think we kind of left it hanging. The problem was we were beaten down because episode 17 had the conversation about being the worst. Yeah. Episode 21 had the conversation about being the worst, and then episode 23 did. So 3 out of 6. The thing I remember us talking, so just for clarification, so 21 is Leslie Nielsen taking all the naps,
the Vegas nurse,
and then Monty Hall.
Yeah.
And then 23 was the widows and the ex-hooker.
Oh,
and your guys, the ice people, and Stubby trying to lose weight.
I think that might be the best one. I got to be honest with you. As you're relaying that to me, at least the Vegas nurse was just kind of like a funny story.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got some good stuff out of the Leslie Nielsen, like the side characters. Bananas Foster was good.
Right.
Glenda was good. Yeah.
But
23, I remember
23
it was boring.
It was boring.
There was no reason.
It was just, it offended like all of my senses.
Yeah.
If that's even possible.
That last 38 minutes of Annette Funicello walking around in the parking lot,
plus we're looking at, I remember watching the episode and I'm like, what are we still doing here? We've told the story, we're done.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I would say 23 would, in my opinion, is the worst episode of the season.
I agree. So what we'll do for next season is King of the Mountain will have both best and worst as the running thing to make it a little easier. Hopefully, since it's a 2-parter to start up season 2, we don't have both. But technically, they will be both the best and the worst.
They will.
Speaking of the worst, I'm going to put my spectacles on for this one. This next category is the worst. This is the male-female performance that was the worst character of the season, regardless of intention. So this is regardless if they were meant to be a villain or a hero. However the writer intended them to portray, how did they come off to us? That is how the worst category is decided.
Can't wait.
Plenty of nominees. Number 5 for me is Danny the Virgin's fraternity buddies from episode 6. These guys came on the boat hot after making a terrible decision to go on a boat for their spring break with a bunch of olds. The 2 guys especially were just continually bothering Danny about being a virgin and apparently just telling everyone on the boat to the point where they were making bets about it. Like they were Shohei Ohtani. And it was just got to the point where Danny had to lie to them and Mike Taylor about not sleeping with Marcia at the end of the episode. So they were an egregious 5th for me.
I got to be honest with you here. When I looked at this worst, I wrote down 2 names. And these 2 people are worth 5 nominees because I can't couple another 3 people with these 2 who are the worst. Nobody's on the level.
So you only have 2?
Yeah.
All right, well, let me go through my...
Yeah.
Let me go through my other 2, and we'll catch up.
A little fired up about it because,
No, it's fine. All right, so my number 4 then is, let's see. My number 4, Barry Keys. Barry Keys is number 4. I think what I was... And let me do my number 3. Number 3, was the Life Begins at 60 group.
Oh, they were the
So
worst.
my reasoning for these guys being not at the top was basically that they were just picking on Julie. Like it was like their harm was limited. But Barry Keys obviously took advantage of a father-daughter friendship, faked a heart attack to get his terrible act on board.
How is he only a
lied to
4?
Julie.
Listen to the tale of Barry Keys.
I'm not Doug. I know you're going to vote for Barry Keys. So we'll get to it when we get to it. And then the Life Begins at 60 people were just awful. They had no remorse for what they did. They ruined poor Mr. Jim Wright's whole deal. Who brings bagpipes to a cruise? Just absolutely terrible. I think that was the first of many guests that we wanted and wished drown.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's where it began.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's 2 guys, and they're co-number ones. It's Barry Keys and Ray Bolger. I just want, but on top of that, I wanted to say Captain Stubing. I really, really wanted to have him like number 1. But I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I'm going
to allow Barry Keys because you're not wrong. I'm not allowing Ray Bolger. But if you want Barry Keys, he can have the award. I will give special shout out to before we get into Barry Keys.
Yeah.
Jack Foster as Ray, or Jack Carter as Ray Foster. Again, terrible person. And I want to give a special shout out to Rick. Rick, Marcia's boyfriend. Absolute trash. Absolute trash. The only reason I don't really dig in on him is because he is just a kid and he's an idiot.
His sulking.
Older people should know. But yeah, he literally threw a temper tantrum that cost his girlfriend $5,000.
Yeah.
So way to go. But that said, in the when you look back on season 1, we're going to remember Barry Keys a lot longer than we're going to remember most of the characters. So I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say Barry Keys.
Fair enough. Okay.
That was an amazing. Your hatred of Ray Bolger is just insane to me.
Oh gosh, just drives me crazy.
Barry Keys, I get. I didn't even have Bolger on the list. I had Milton Berle on the list. I had the Baineses.
I'll take Milton Berle all day long over Ray Bolger and his overacting.
I had the Baineses. I had Monty Hall being a creep, and I also had that whole $1 million throwing the money around thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oof, I forgot about that one. The worst cop ever. The next award is for Best Part-Time Crew Member. This is for the male or female performance by any staff member outside of the main 5. I love this award.
It's exciting.
I really, really do. Number 5 for me is Connie Evans, the cruise director trainee.
Yep.
She was good.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of that performance. So
she was great.
Yeah. And technically an employee until she was fired, but she was an employee for some time. So that no more part-time than when you get fired on your first day of the job. So
that's right.
Number 5 for me, going Vince. Vince, who was summoned by Gopher to take up some postcards.
To go up the stairs. Yeah.
To go up the steps. What could happen, right? But when you're given postcards to the survivors of the Titanic, Vince went down all the stairs, never got a speaking part. I couldn't even find his name in the IMDb.
Poor Vince.
But I'm going Vince. R.I.P. Vince.
R.I.P. Vince. Next for me, I'm going to go with Courtney Stubing as number 4 for sheer comedic value in 5 a.m. ballet. And the worst bartender you've ever seen in your life. Yeah.
Worst bartender, worst pillow shover.
Worst pillow shover.
Number 4 for me, gonna be that scab chef himself, Chef Borgia, Al Marinaro. Hilariously hated Stubing. Never really said why. Oh, it was ketchup, right? It was ketchup.
Ketchup. Yeah, he put ketchup on his food.
And he just fired ketchup into the sea. It was a great performance. Led to one of my favorite bits of the whole season when the crew had to pitch in and do the kitchen work. But yeah, Al Marinara was very good in
Fun episode.
his obvious role as a chef. So
Number 3 for me is Chef Antonio Borga.
yep.
He was great. He was
Oh,
great. And
absolutely. No.
what a fun episode. Even just like the snapshots from the episode are great. From them trying to, him throwing the ketchup off the back of the ship or them cooking. That was a fun episode. But yeah, he's my number 3.
That episode was a real like of the time like slapstick, right? Like the whole like we're gonna lie to these guys and they'll never run into each other, and then they do, and just like it was just a simpler time. Again, we didn't have enough of that in the back half of the season.
No, I love that. It's that snappy,
Yeah, just like easy watch. We're not trying to land a plane here. Like just make it easy. It's a little effort.
I agree.
My number 3 is the aforementioned Connie Evans, Joanne Harris, as the conniving would-be cruise director. Like I said, big fan of her work in this episode.
I think conniving is a great way to describe her character.
Oh yeah. I mean, she listen. It almost worked. Really,
it almost did work.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to my number 2 is Vegas nurse Dawn Delaney, episode 21. I just thought she brought something to the story.
Yeah.
They had a couple comedic moments, but she kind of outshined Doc, which so she brought a lot to the table. That and she was practically molested throughout the entire episode while she was trying to deliver healthcare.
Yeah.
So
good for her. She's got impending litigation. She was the last cut on my top 5. So she lost to Vince, ironically, because she could have fixed Vince probably. My number 2, the plumber poet himself, Frank Vallone.
Frankie.
I mean, really, when it came down to it, he did the most work of anyone on this boat.
Well, he was always getting, I get off work this time. I got to go fix this.
Yeah.
He was working harder than the captain.
Yeah, he fixed the sink for Isaac. He got the ring out of the thing.
Right. I mean, he was doing electrical things or plumbing things.
Right. And let's not forget, a poet.
He's writing sonnets.
We had our fun. We had our fun, but now it's done.
That's regular Bob Frost. Poor guy.
I would say, no, you were right last time. I would say there's almost no chance we don't have the same number 1. So.
We have to have the same number 1. Is there a debate?
No, I mean, this is debate. The whole reason it's really the whole reason the category exists, honestly. So
I'm just going to go ahead and say I guarantee we have the same answer, and that answer, the winner, best part-time crew member, Stubby, goes to Steward Edward Teddy Anderson. I got worried for a second.
Yeah, I mean,
come on,
just flawless. I mean, even just thinking about how good he was in that was just like in a ridiculous role. If you think about it, Stewart is so
completely ridiculous. Yeah, but he's just so good. He's so confident. He has such a presence that it was just, I don't know. It was great. Like, it made it look so easy.
We spent most of that episode trying to figure out how to undead him so he could replace Stubing. That's how good he was.
Yeah, he was great. He really was great.
Yeah, that's not even. I mean, I think that was maybe the easiest one of the whole thing, except the animal.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
but yeah, he was amazing. He was amazing.
Just a couple shout outs here for the other people that I had listed. We got the nameless chef, Romo Vincent, who was the guy
that's funny.
Who just that was it.
I love that.
Judy Canova was PJ Muldoon, which was Stubby.
I thought about her too.
Stubby's lady, and that was basically it. I also had the housekeeper from early in the season.
Oh yeah,
honorable mention. So, that's but fine. Yeah, I think that was a pretty, like we said, this was a blowout voting, right? Like
yeah,
like 98% of the vote goes to Bob Crane here. So
rightly so.
All right.
This is a big award coming up next year.
This will be interesting because this really can go any which way. So this is best moment.
It's of the favorite, season. Right? Favorite individual moment of the season.
Favorite moment of the season individual moment can fall anywhere. Really, the definition is very loose. Three nominations, and again, it's favorite, so it can be whatever you think. Just for context, I kind of looked at it in more of the way of what am I going to remember the most, like as a specific scene. When I think back, these are the scenes that I kind of think of. Also, I wanted to make sure that things that just cracked me up at the time kind of got a little bit of shine here. So
I agree.
Number 3 for me, and this is best moment. This was when Stubing and Doc approached the daughter of Brian Sherwood when I thought that he was dead. The anticipation of like the 25 seconds when I thought they were going to tell her that her dad had died. That was my third favorite moment of the season. So
that's a good one. That's a really good one. For number 3 for me, I went with the painters, Vincent and Ronald.
Yeah.
I can't even put my finger on what it just made me laugh. Their deadpan, just the whole, just made me giggle. It was one of my favorite things. It's when I think about season 1, I'll think about, those two guests.
And one of our first switcheroos, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number 2 for me, I think I said it during the episode, and it still is funny to me. The hardest I have laughed in this show all season was when Mr. Humberton knocked on the door after Connie Evans got fired to try and get and hook up, because originally when she was flirting with the guy, he's like, I am married. And then later on, he shows up at the door. Can I get that walk? So,
yeah.
Who knocked on the door.
That's
a
right.
Very deep cut, but that's the hardest I laughed all season was that. So that's my number 2.
My number 2 is the moment we find out that Robert Tanner is actually the jewel thief.
Yep. That's my number 1.
I was
absolutely
surprised.
Yeah.
That's your number 1? I can't argue.
That's my number 1. Yeah. Because I remember at the time that episode is so hilarious because it's so boring.
Yeah.
His entire storyline is awful until the end. And then they nail you with a switcheroo. And I didn't think this show had the ability to do that. This was the first time I kind of knew that was possible. They never replicated it, right? But
no, but it was great. Just the surprise, like, whoa, okay, that was awesome. I thought that was one of my second favorite moment of the season.
Okay. So that was my first favorite. So I'll be curious to hear what your first favorite is.
My favorite moment of the season was when Stubby is criticizing Stubing for not spending enough time on the bridge in episode 9. Nothing, because we kept talking about it leading up to this episode. And then he said it, and I'm just like, thank you. Somebody, some acknowledgement that they're supposed to be on a ship. So it just makes me laugh. And it's just great. And he changed the whole sort of rotation of the show. Like you said, the last captain's dinner, like he really now Captain Stubing doesn't sit on the end. Like he took his best cook, from down below. It's a whole thing. So that is, but I can, that
it's a coin flip for me.
It's a coin flip. Well, I think because it's favorite. We can both have a favorite.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's see how worse goes, and then or least favorite moment, and then we'll decide. Maybe we'll chop those up. We can each pick one. So
all right.
So worst moment. Yeah.
Worst moment. Least favorite individual moment from season 1. Number 3 for me is Stubing cannot count to 6 in episode 11. Just completely implausible. Made no sense. It was so dumb.
6 kids, 5 gifts. I still maintain we don't give out awards for our own shows, but I will say I have never laughed as hard as when we did the Christmas episode. That is just so ridiculous.
That was funny. The episode was just insane. It was just, it really was a funny episode.
It really was. I hope they do a Christmas episode every year. I would assume they do. It's so
Oh, I
easy.
bet. I bet.
But like, it's gonna be hard to top that Christmas episode.
Oh,
That was
great.
amazing. My number 3 for worst moment was Captain Stubing and his downtown Abbey speech to his dad and PJ Muldoon that the help does not eat in the dining room, which basically caused a revolt that ended the captain's dinners.
Yeah.
So it was so
It's cringy.
bonkers. It was just weird to have that whole speech about she's retiring in like 15 minutes. It's your dad's girlfriend. Nobody cares about rules on this boat. And Stubing did the whole thing and then went back to apologize and didn't do a better job there either. So that was my
he makes weird stands.
Yes.
He does weird like things like that. You know,
Yeah,
from
he really
that
does.
to let me slip into something more comfortable and comes out in a tuxedo. Like he just does odd things.
Yeah, this is not always more comfortable. It looks damn good, but it's not.
It looks great. It looks great.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is Dave King getting out of the pool in episode 6. It's self-explanatory. Our guest Jimmy on the episode quoted him exiting. He described him exiting the pool as the most unhinged way to exit a pool.
Poor Tab Hunter.
Poor Tab Hunter.
My number 2 is a pretty recent one. It's Doc's quid pro quo for Dawn Delaney. That was absolutely Doc. Doc had a very cringy episode, and maybe the most cringy episode of anybody. And
it was just gross.
It was absolutely awful. He did not get his comeuppance in that episode. We choose to believe he got his comeuppance in the next episode. When he got punched in the face. So
yeah,
but that's my number 2.
My number 1 was an easy one, Mike.
Yeah, probably.
My number 1 defied the laws of nature. It's when the male German Shepherd had puppies. Self-explanatory. Episode 9.
Now, I'm going to let you, before I tell you what my number 1 is, decide which one you want to pick, because I'm taking the other one.
Okay.
Because I do feel like when I tell you what my number 1 is, you may change your mind.
Okay.
So before I reveal my number 1 worst, do you want the best moment to be the reveal of Robert Tanner, or what was your number 1 for that category for the best?
Stubing criticizing.
Right. Stubby crapping on Stubing. Do you want that one, or do you want the door number 2 here?
Door number 2. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. So you can have your pick of either, but you got to decide before I reveal. So
I'll take door number 2, whatever that is. All right.
Okay. So, let's just say it. The best moment award will go to Mike Taylor's pick, which is Stubby yelling at Stubing.
Uh-huh.
That's the winner of that.
Okay.
And then worst moment.
See, now you got me. I'm racking my brain to think. Oh,
I am a full grown.
Oh, God. Oh.
Red-blooded.
No.
American woman.
No. Oh, God.
And I am looking for a full-blooded, full-grown, red-blooded.
That's the worst. Oh. Yeah, this all
I warned you.
Oh,
you had your chance.
Man.
So, congratulations, Julie. You have won worst moment of season 1.
Jeez.
So.
I don't even know if worst really. Oh, God, that was an awful.
Yeah.
Oh.
I am surprised that you did not vote for Jack Tripper getting molested by Stubing.
No. I there were worse things that happened. Incredibly, there were worse things that happened. We were just getting started.
Yeah.
Oof. Okay. I'll just say this: when we get into these best female, this is our big heavy hitters right here, right? You got best female, best male, best regular cast member, like for whatever the performances were. most outstanding.
These are
So
the
these
big ones.
are all right.
These are all no more joke
Yeah, we were
categories. These
screwing
are
around before, but now let's get to it.
these are really the best of the best.
All
So
right.
best female performance. This is any female, all season, non-main cast. Doesn't matter how old you are, so none of that nonsense. So we are nominating 5 here. So my 5th for best female performance is the aforementioned Pearl Bailey as Millie Washington. I have her as number 5 again, mainly for beating the snot out of Isaac, hooking up with that dentist, and also having that whole line about Harvey Wallbangers. So that's my number 5.
That's funny. My number 5 is PJ Muldoon from the Stubing Senior, episode 9. Thought she was great.
My number 4 is, I think this is the last time I nominated her, but I nominated her a lot. Joanne Harris as Connie Evans. Like we've said before, she was just great up and down this whole time. So
I'm going with Regina Parker from The Plumber Poet, Jane Curtin.
Nice. Very nice.
I thought she was great.
Yep.
I really did. Thought she was great.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not an easy category. There are a lot of people.
No, there's some.
My honorable mention is long. So
yeah.
My number 3 is she was just on one of our favorites, Marsha Wallace as O'Rourke in episode 22. Thought she was great. Held that whole episode together. Randomly had amazing his girl Friday chemistry with Gopher.
Yeah.
Like would watch that again totally. So
I have for my number 3, I have Millie Washington, Isaac's mom, Pearl Bailey.
Very nice.
Excuse me. Oh.
It's very disappointing, and I'm sure they weren't thinking about it this way because I don't think you know that your show's going to go 10 years, right? But it's like they shot their wad on these parents that are too big of stars to come back.
Yeah, you can't.
Like, I don't think Pearl Bailey ever comes back. So now you're just not having Isaac's mom the rest of the time. Like, it's like,
it's a
Isaac's
shame
cousin, or it's like that's they have plenty of room now with Gopher and Julie and
like Stubby could come back.
Yep, he might be dead.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. He won't be back in 84. R.I.P. Stubby.
Oh, poor Phil. He'll always live on in the awards that were named after him. Plus, he got one, right? Didn't he win in a Stubby?
He did. He did.
Stubby.
We just won one. We have to smelt the award in his.
I think he won 2.
Bust. He did. He might not be done either. He might not be done.
Man, he's going home with an armful of awards.
No one saw this coming.
Number 2, best female. I'm going with Michelle Lee, specifically for her first performance as Denise, the bewildered housewife who swore her husband was trying to kill him. I think we said it during the episode. That could have gone a lot of different ways in terms of quality. And she played it perfectly. Just absolute, really thought she was going to die on that boat many times. She was really good. The other 2 performances, I'm not even really considering for that. She was fine. But number 2 for Michelle Lee for me.
Okay. Number 2 for me is the Stacey Skogstad.
Oh.
Going back to Stubing, I thought she was really good. She played a jerk, but she did a great job. She was very hateable, which she was supposed to be. So I put her as number 2 for me.
With that British accent. Number 1 for me is Diane Carroll as Roxy Blue. Just felt like that was the most memorable female performance we've had. We reference it all the time.
We do.
She sung. She acted like a star. Like you believed she was a star when all those idiot hanger-ons were running up around her. That did not feel like a character that existed a lot in 1978, like a female just trashing these men, but she played it great. Was really good.
I will say that I do agree, because I tried to avoid too many repeats. I went with Marshall Wallace as my winner. However, I agree with what you're saying. I can't say, well, no. Diane Carroll wasn't, because she really was the best female performance. I think what I tried to do, I think me trying to avoid dupes,
Yeah,
has affected it. But I stand
sometimes it
by.
happens.
That's the
That's why
number
we're
one.
having.
That's why
That's
we
why we're
got
having a
two.
conversation, right? Okay.
Yeah, but I
We're
stand by
good.
that. Yeah, absolutely. She
Yeah.
should win.
All right. No, and I like that because it's triggering us to have that conversation. Like, trust me,
Yeah,
there's a world where Marshall Wallace wins that, no problem. But I do think if we look back in a few seasons and it's like Diane Carroll won 3 of
right,
these, it makes sense, right?
right,
Like, I mean, so
exactly.
okay, so yeah, Diane Carroll wins best female performance for Roxy Blue.
Some A-listers coming on here. So next award, best male performance. Male performance by any non-regular cast member. Now, Mike, these are going to be heavy hitters. You know that.
Oh yeah. Oh, just the people I left off are heavy hitters.
Right. I'm going to start
I will
with
say this. I will
yeah.
say this. I think before we go, I have a surprise winner.
I think I have a surprise winner.
It surprised me. So
number 5 for me is Mickey O'Day. Best.
That's exactly where I have him. Excellent.
Yeah. He's fantastic.
The perfect number 5. The absolute perfect number 5.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it a lot. I mean, there are probably seasons where Tom Poston picks up some hardware, right? I mean, he was really good in that episode.
He was great.
In addition to being the best wave shot, there's also the one when Julie shows up at the door and he does like, hey, go for it.
Yeah, that's when she starts strutting in. That's when that whole awkward, I blame that awkward moment on Mickey O'Day.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Okay, so no, my number 4 is Meryl Stubing Sr. Episode 9 at number 4. Yep. Who do you have for number 4?
Number 4, and it's funny because I think when we watched this, if we had known we were doing the awards, we may have penciled him in to win. But I think as we get further away from it, maybe not. I had John Ritter.
Interesting.
Which was a great performance. Like we said, you could see the Jack Tripper in there.
Yep.
I just feel like as we got further away from it, there were people that did 2 things.
Gotcha.
In episodes where John Ritter, that was a great comedic performance, but there wasn't a lot of like other stuff in there.
No, so. I agree. Yeah. My number 3 is Lenny Kamen.
Oh, nice. Don 14. Adams.
Yeah, love Don Adams. That is my number 3. He was great.
Yeah, he was. We kind of forget about him because that was like a middle of the season.
There's just so much. It's tough
Monkey was in that episode. That was like, yeah. My number 3 is Will Geer as Bootherton.
Gotcha.
Like we said a couple times, he kind of did carry a weird episode. So I think that's about as high as I would go for it, but I thought he was good, obviously. So
I agree. Number 2 for me is Dale Reinhardt / Riley, episode 2, for the same reasons that you said.
Yep.
I think he set a bar. And maybe if he had been in later in the season after there had been some episodes, maybe that performance would have been different. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think maybe he could have done even better.
Yeah.
Like, he set the bar early, and then it was, he was great.
There's no wrong answers when we get to these guys. I mean, like as much as we have criticisms of the show and stuff, even the bad episodes have had good storylines, good performances in bad storylines, like things like that. So
right.
My number 2 is Bob Crane.
Really?
I had a lot. I went back and forth between him and the guy I ended up picking for 1. We already talked about it, how great Bob Crane was and all this stuff. This was my one thing, kind of what you're saying about duplicates. This was my one thing where I was like, well, I already have him winning 1. I'd like to give this other guy
fair enough.
A crack. So
I went the opposite route on that. I went with Bob Crane.
Yeah.
I was reluctant to double up award winners, but you can't. It's right. The argument for him is there. You get it. I mean, he's going to be in the conversation. Yeah. So now I'm dying to know who did you pick?
So let me say, before we get into this,
Mhm.
it should be Bob Crane should be the winner. I'm okay with that. I have him as
Okay.
number 2, and it was a coin flip. So Bob
But I'm
Crane,
okay if it's, if there's somebody I'm not thinking of.
I don't think this is just. So mine was Robert Reed from episode 3
Okay.
as Barney, and I think part of it for me was, first of all, that's a great performance. Our friend Jamie
He was.
points out, just putting his clothes back on is just such a move. That was the first time we saw anybody do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you think about his arc in that thing, he's shooting skeet, he's hooking up with his ex-wife, he's wearing that jacket, he's getting one-liners off like crazy.
He had a lot to say.
It's the first of what I would say was not as many as I thought we'd see. People known for one thing playing completely against type.
Yeah.
And I would say it's probably the best version of it. That said, the winner should be Bob Crane, because I had him at 2 and I really had him at 1.5 and you had him at 1. So I think that should be it. But I just wanted to make sure that Robert Reed got some credit, because
absolutely,
I think that's a really good one that we kind of forget, because 3 is a weirdly forgettable episode.
It really is.
It
really is. You know what I remember about 3? Whiskey sour. That's what I remember. Egg whites. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. But that whole Loretta Swit, like, we didn't have a Lockhorns thing, and maybe we should have, and maybe we'll do it next year. But like, that was as good a Lockhorns as we saw the whole season.
100% agree with you on that.
So, but congratulations to Bob Crane picking up multiple hardware. And the other thing is too, Robert Reed probably has a chance to win another one of these, but unfortunately, Teddy Anderson does not. So
yeah, he doesn't.
All right, this one might be some conversation.
Okay.
So, best regular cast member. So this is basically ranking the 5 cast members 5-1 for their season 1 performance.
See, I viewed it as the 5 best performances, meaning like in different episodes, but it'll still serve the same thing.
We'll get to the same spot probably. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we've talked about it a lot. The inconsistency during this season, was shocking. When I tried to do it my way of thinking, made it very hard. My guess is when you try to do it, it will show how different characters were from one to the other. So
exactly.
So my 5th is Stubing.
Right.
Just because of everything we've said. When we first started this, I think I just assumed he was the unquestioned star. Everything would kind of revolve around him. There were parts in the early part of the season where he was never even really part of it. And then when he is, sometimes he's a goof. Sometimes he's like the leader of the Navy. Sometimes he tries to be a wise old sage. Like, it's just, there's no consistency.
No continuity at all. I agree. I had Stubing at number 5 for episode 10, The Strike. And I'm saying that was the best of him.
Best of Stubing, yeah.
And that's kind of how.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I feel like of everybody, that's the guy that they need to figure out.
They need to fix it, man. It's not. It's weird. It's not
they
the
just
right.
Gotta pick one at this point.
Yeah. It's too much. It's all over the place.
And I'm not even sure which one I'd pick. I think I'd pick stern, but fair.
Episode 1, Captain?
He was a little too uptight for that, though, because he is funny at certain things.
Well, he was probably uptight because freaking Stacy Snodgrass was on the boat.
Yeah, but there's not like a. You're right about 10. There's just not a great. There's not a great Stubing episode where I can be like, yeah, he should be like that all the time. It's like
right. He's just his principles are so fluid. It's just very strange.
Like I said last week, the end with him and Gopher when they rehired Gopher, I thought that was a nice moment. But like that wasn't a whole episode of that.
No,
it was like so. Number 4, I have Isaac, Ted Lang as Isaac. And I think we kind of thought that him and Gopher were kind of neck and neck for a while. And actually in the beginning of the season, Isaac had more storylines. But it's like if Isaac doesn't have a main story, they kind of don't use him. He just gets a couple bar scenes, and it's real. Like he doesn't get enough opportunity. This is not about him not being good. He's good in almost everything he does. He's just not in it enough.
The strange thing about Isaac is like he's at 4 for me as well. And I pointed out that Isaac the groupie is like his high point.
Right.
Like what you said, when they have something for him to do, he does it well. And it's interesting because going into the next season in the very first episode, which we'll talk a little bit about after the awards are over, it's an Isaac heavy episode again.
Okay.
So I just but just like you, I don't need Isaac heavy episodes. I just need more Isaac in the episodes.
Right.
Like you don't have to. So for me, right, there wasn't enough meat on the bone there. There were some episodes where he maybe said 2 lines and didn't make a drink. It's just weird.
Because I think I said it early in the season. I thought he was going to be like the Jiminy Cricket kind of like, bartender, right? Yeah. There's no reason why your bartender can't have a scene across all 3 storylines.
Right.
Like he should be the through line, really, for most episodes. It's just the easiest. And it's just, they don't even do that much.
No.
So surprising. Number 3, and honestly, if this season had 2 or 3 more episodes, he might have moved up, is Fred Grandy as Gopher. Just a tremendous back half of the season. Probably the MVP of the back half. I mean, after they didn't even use him that much in the first half.
Nope.
And he's an example of how many actual storylines did Gopher have? He had the monkey.
The one with the girl. Well, that wasn't even a full storyline. No. That was with the girl with half a face was the monkey.
Right. And the French person. He had 3 storylines, really, I think. But they put him in with O'Rourke. They put him in these little things. He makes the most of his stuff, and they did give him more stuff than they did Isaac. But I thought Gopher was by far the best part of the second half of the season. Now, granted, the top people kind of fell back a little bit, but
it's funny because I could see him at 3, which is where I had him, just like you did. But I could see him at 2 as well, just like you're saying. Overall.
Yeah,
I agree. No. We're in agreement 100% so far. These last 2 are going to be interesting, though.
Okay. So this was tough.
Yeah,
and I think if we had voted 1/3 through the season, it would have been Julie.
Yeah.
And I think if we had voted 2/3 of the season, it would have been Doc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with number 2 as Doc. And I am doing it for a couple reasons. One, the last few episodes just took me out of it completely. It was just a lecherousness that almost canceled out some of the Doc. Like
there's no humor in it. There was no humor in it. It was just cringy. It was like I don't want to watch this. Like this is not
the one character they nailed this whole season.
Yeah,
was Doc as Dean Martin, just doing takes to the camera, popping in. That ridiculous episode with the fake the Stockdales, right, where he was a fake ad exec and everything, and Doc just shows up and literally is doing at the camera.
Doc. Yeah.
Like that's the Doc I want. And I can even deal with problematic Doc to a point. But the last couple episodes where he was that was arrestable offenses that he was doing.
Yeah, it definitely, I really kind of echo what you're saying there. It just, he undid a lot of the things that I enjoyed about his character. I was just like, too far, man. Too far. We were just trying to have fun here.
Right.
And you went and did this.
It does give me hope for future seasons when I assume some sort of correction is made, right? That
imagine if it gets worse.
It might get worse before it gets better. It might. I mean, it's not like 1979 was a real puritanical time. It's like so
when everything changed. Yeah.
But
I agree.
The thing about the Doc character is they can always go back to what the stuff we liked, but there were definitely a few episodes at the end that were just not fun.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. So
that leaves Julie. Julie is number 1. And I think that's fair in that, and I was thinking about this earlier. First of all, if you look back on the season, I think we would say Julie was the cast member that we talked the most about, had the most opinions about, had the most feelings about. And that is part of this, right?
Right.
We wouldn't care as much about her downfall in the second half of the season if we didn't care about all the, I mean, we said it so much in the first third of the season, how she was the heart of the show and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's why she's the end.
Yeah. No, exactly.
That's why. Like, they knew what they had. And it's interesting to see what's going to happen in subsequent seasons, what that looks like.
Yeah. And the thing I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I hadn't really thought about was her being the only female. She ends up having to have a lot more of these wild swings because they can't dump it off onto a second character. Now, this daughter is not going to be that old. I guess she could take some of that stuff, but it's like we're still going to run into this thing where they can spread it out with the other people, right? Like, so.
I agree. It's a rough call, but I mean, it is what it is. It's just
I care the most
about the Doc. Yeah, I care the most
about Julie. I mean, honestly,
I agree.
Like I'm still there, so
I'm with you 100%.
We kid, but yeah, I think that's the right answer. But it took some twists during the season for sure. So.
Absolutely.
Now, who do you think, without knowing anything, gets it next season?
I think they right the ship with Doc next season.
Okay.
I really do. I think they're going to lean on Doc. If it's Captain Stubing, nothing would be more shocking to me. You know what, though?
It almost has to be, right? Like
it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah. There are tweaks with the other characters. I feel like there's a full makeover that has to happen with Stubing, especially if they're giving him a daughter.
Unless it's Gopher. They lean on Gopher a bit more. I mean, he was so good. We'll see.
So I don't think the daughter's on regular
not yet.
Next season.
Not yet.
So it'll still be these 5.
See what happens.
Yep.
The final Stubby Award category is Season 1 Most Outstanding Performer. Now, any male-female is eligible, including main cast, for the MVP of the season. The Season 1 Heisman Stubby, if you will. My number 5 is going to go to Gladys Watkins. Episode 20, played by Audrey Meadows.
Very good.
I just enjoy Audrey Meadows, and nobody plays that character better than it's her character. She invented it.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
I think we said at the time, it's like having Baryshnikov come to your school dance. It's just it was just, she rolled it out there. Yeah.
And she didn't have, she didn't have the most lines, but she was just, head and shoulders better than anyone she was in a scene with. Like she just stood out to me.
Yep.
I had to mention
her. Number 5 for me, and I feel like I was going to shove this in just because I'm going with Julie at number 5. We just literally just had the conversation, but I do feel like when you think back on season 1, she's the cast member that I would think of. And I bet, it kind of slowed down at the very end, but I bet she was in the most scenes.
I think so. So. Like screen time. Like per cast. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and there's still a likability there. They did nothing to make her unlikable. It was just more, you hope that they give her like things that are a little more positive in the next season. So
my number 4, I think, is going to be a bit of a surprise. Doug Ketchum, episode 18. Remember the blonde woman and her friend? He was the guy that spent time with the friend.
Oh, right. Okay. It's like, yes, it took me a minute. Yes. Mike Andrews is sidekick.
Mike, right. The good guy.
Yep.
I just thought he had a great performance.
Yep.
Overall, but I didn't, not top 3, but you can be top 5.
I think at this point, everybody I've got has won an award today.
Yeah,
So this will be.
I will say this: one of the people I'm going to say this is the first time he'll be mentioned.
Okay,
this episode.
My number 4 for the last time,
yeah,
is Will Gear. Again, just
can't argue. Yeah,
basically, we've talked about it a million times, but he literally died for that performance and was the only Emmy nomination ever on this show. So I'm
it's got to mean
going
something.
with Mr. Boothерton. And hey, he helped us learn about McKeesport.
Yeah,
which
I agree.
I mean,
I learned a lot.
Who can blame him? Yeah.
My number 3 is John Ballard, episode 4.
Oh,
Bill Bixby.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed it. I thought it was odd that he hurt his knee and they gave him a wheelchair, but I'm not going to push it. I love Bill Bixby. I thought he was great in that episode. Top 3 performance in my book.
And that's probably the second best normal episode.
Yeah. I would say so.
I mean, we really enjoyed that one. For me, number 3 is Michelle Lee. This is in part because just of the gravity of doing 3 episodes. I do agree with your point that it's not like all 3 were great.
Right.
If she had one more really good performance, I think she gets this. The other 2 were fine. Plus, she had to kiss Stubing. So,
poor lady. Yeah.
But that first one was great, and the other 2 were different enough that it didn't feel like you were watching Michelle Lee all three times. So
I agree.
I'll go with
I can get behind that. My number 2 is Teddy Anderson, again played by Bob Crane. We've talked about it. Multiple nominee this evening.
And that's also my number 2. That's my number 2 also is Bob Crane. He's already gotten 2 pieces of hardware, I believe.
My number 1 is Roxy Blue.
Yep, that's my number 1.
Episode 5. Really?
Yep. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, so
that's interesting. 2. Wow, I didn't see
that. Makes sense, though. That feels right.
It does. It feels right.
Yeah,
she was amazing.
It's funny too because there's part of me that's like, we said it in the absolute moment of watching the show, right? So are we remembering that we felt that way at the time, and we're just? But no, because it's not like we say it about everything.
No, we don't. We don't.
The 2 people we really said were the best in the moment were those 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is proper reflection of it. And I think Diana Carroll gets a little bit extra because she sang. Honestly,
she's a star. She's a star. I mean, she was great. The episode was great. She was great. Yeah, I feel good about that. I think it's a good representation of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Those are the stubbies for the season. That is,
we did it.
So I'm gonna try and run through here and recap all the winners. Best Kid went to James Bond III as Theo Dennison. Best Old went to Phil Silvers, Stubby with his first Stubby. Best Animal went to Lucille the Chimp. That was a bit of a blowout. Best Musical Performance went to Roxy Blue. Yep. So first of many for Diane Carroll. Best Villain went to Buddy Stanfield.
Yep.
Best Returning Guest went to Michelle Lee.
Yep.
Best Horn Dog went to Penny Jacobs. She's definitely going to be the most obscure actor that get one for a while.
Yeah,
would be my guess. Best episode 5. Worst episode 23. The worst went to Barry Keys.
Yep.
Best part-time crew member went to Bob Crane. Best moment went to the Stubby Senior dressing down Stubby Junior. The worst moment, full grown, red-blooded.
Oh, it's awful.
American Woman. Best female went to Diane Carroll as Roxy Blue. Best male went to Bob Crane as Teddy Anderson. Best full-time crew member went to Laura Hughes as Julie McCoy. And the season 1 MVP, that's Diane Carroll as Roxy Blue. Those are your season 1 Stubby winners.
Amazing. What a season it's been. What a season it's been.
Yeah, we did 25 episodes. I did not count it up, but I'm assuming we came close to 50 hours of entertainment.
I would say so.
So
we made some Canadian friends this season.
That's right. Are we checking the mailbag this episode or no?
Oh, yeah. We check the mailbag every episode.
Okay. So sure.
I'm sure we're going to hear from quite a few of our Canadian friends. I'm going to thank you ahead of time for your emails. Go ahead.
So I know you're going to talk about the first episode of season 2, but is there anything... Is there any like one wild prediction that you have for season 2? Is there any like one thing you really want to see for season 2 that we didn't see in season 1? I mean, to me, it's consistency, but that's not really what I'm thinking of. But it's like, what crew family member would you want to meet? Are we going to get one of Doc's exes? That to me might be the biggest thing for season 2.
I think looking ahead to maybe one of Doc's exes, maybe more people from Captain Stubing's past, just to frame him a little more.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody positive from Julie's past, like that's not like some ex-married guy, like her sister or something, like something healthy.
Do you think we'll get another established significant other? The only one we had was Isaac. And that clearly didn't stick. But that's the only boyfriend-girlfriend we've had referenced.
I feel like Gopher will, for some reason.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an easy thing to do and then sort of forget about over the course of a few episodes. But I think
need like a recurring... Give me
something you can count on.
With a girlfriend.
Absolutely.
With Gopher Kid. So.
Absolutely. Mike, plugs. Anything to plug, sir?
Hidden Season Patreon. We got Absolutely Hammered every Wednesday. We're talking about the Phillies. We're coming up on the Britain series, and what else we got in May and June? We got Rhys Hoskins coming back in early June. The Phillies are, they're playing games, and I'm sure they are undefeated here in early May. 36-0.
36-0. Looking good for the fighting Phils.
Yeah. But anyway, just look at my Twitter. It's on there.
Awesome. Subscribe, download us wherever you find your audio podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play. Leave a review. We love reviews. You can find us on YouTube, Love Boat Project on Instagram. Look for our weekly reels, Love Boat Project on Facebook. And finally, our email address, the loveboat project at gmail.com.
That's why nobody sends emails. They don't know what it is.
Let me just try to read it again. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm just not saying it correctly.
Yeah.
So it's the loveboat project at gmail.com. Yeah. So now if there's no email, it's just because they didn't have the right.
But that'd be great if there was an email for the awards. That would be great.
Oh, that would be great. Let's see how many of our Canadian brethren have reached out.
Oh.
No mail. No email.
Well, there's your answer for what we want to see in season 2.
Yeah, email. Sneak peek at the next episode, Mike. I took a look ahead. Did not watch the episode. I learned a few valuable facts. Number 1, 2-parter. We already knew that. Number 2, the return of Art Bear.
Oh, right. Good. Oh, that's a good way to start the season.
Number 3, Isaac the passenger? ?
What? Oh, come on.
Next.
Why?
Oh, wait. The crew is held captive on an island, and fake French with a perfect nose is back. Barbie Benton returns.
Oh, you love Barbie Benton's nose.
Great. She's great. Perfect nose.
Plus, she won't be saddled with her friend, Louise Bouvier, or whatever her name was. So.
Stubby nominee for Best Villain.
She was a Stubby nominee. I need to, before next week, I need to write down all the official nominees. And by the way, if either of us listed you, you're a nominee.
Yes.
That's how I'm going to do it. So
absolutely.
We'll be lousy with nominees. But
that's all I have.
Yeah. I don't know how we sign off for an award show.
I don't know.
You know what?
Wish
Let's
we
do
had some
this.
fake applause. Yeah.
Let's thank everybody for the first season. Like, we just finished
Oh,
the
I like
first
that.
season. This is the official end of season 1. We'll start up in season 2 on May 20th. But yeah, this was a really good first season. We really do appreciate everybody who's listened and watched, and well, not anybody who's emailed, but written reviews or told your friends or whatever. Want to thank all our guests. We had a lot of guests this season. And we hope to have all those guests back next season along with some new ones. Yeah, so that's a wrap on season 1.
I just
Very
think, Mike.
successful. And Mike, I really appreciate it because I was only a guest the first week, and look at us now.
Look at us now. And just think, we're like 1/9 of the way there. Perfect.
Yeah, the 250 number. Well, originally we thought it was 263.
Right.
Then we were down to 250. Then we realized that IMDb breaks out the two-parters.
The twos and the twos and yeah.
Yeah, so I'm feeling like we're like, yeah, 9th is probably correct.
All right.
Yeah, they'll fly by.
I will have to say this was just a fun idea, and I'm glad it's turned out to be so much more than just a fun idea. And I'm glad to get to do go on these episodic deep dives with you. So, and I look forward to season 2.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, until then, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Season 2, episode 1. Until then, have a great one.